7 years, more than 80 volunteers, more than 90,000 hours of work.
This is beyond what I could have imagined.
The Boston Police Strike of 1919 was a calamitous event for the city and certainly for the more than 1,100 men who went out on strike. That fact that they went out on strike and the aftermath of the strike in the city became a really profoundly influential event in labor history and in Boston history.
The Boston Police Records and Archives keeps contemporary records. We do have a few historical sets. One of those is the index card for each member of the department who went out on strike in 1919. I brought these to the attention of Joanne Riley here at UMass. UMass has the interest in labor history, the interest in local history, and the interest in untold stories that made it a good match for this program.
Margaret Sullivan came to us 7 years ago with this idea for this project. She had the duty card. She immediately understood what that meant in terms of having at least some information, the only information, documentary information about all of the men who went out on strike and what that could mean to do further research. And she had the amazing vision and foresight to see that the centennial would be a very good time to unveil such work and that it had to be started immediately.
When I saw what the project was, I thought this is right up my alley. I've been a volunteer researcher on this project, both starting strikers and reviewing strikers. I started out as a starter, so I would be given the name of a striker and the basic information that was available in all the strikers. And then I would start to fill in the planks and using the different records, the census and military records. One of my specialties is old newspapers, and I would often go into old newspapers, find things about these strikers both before they were on the police force, during and after, as well as going through city directories to see what happened to them in their lives after they were fired from the police department.
I coordinated sending the worksheets to all of the volunteers. And the next phase of the worksheet would be the reviewer worksheet, where somebody, a different person, a different volunteer on the team would look at what you had already researched and made sure that nothing was missing or they added information that maybe you couldn't find. The final phase was the closing phase, which is kind of two phases in one. You are making sure that everything possible was found on that striker with all the resources that we have, and then you're also putting in that data from the worksheet into our database, which would generate a biography for every striker. And then the last phase was actually writing a biography on each striker.
Someone started to link to some of the records of my grandfather, and I emailed this person through Ancestry, and they told me about the project. And then I contacted the people at UMass Boston. I took part in their massive open online course to become one of the volunteers, and then it just snowballed. Putting together the roster card video was very emotional for me. What I really cared about seeing there was that it wasn't just my grandfather that had that horrible red stamp on it, abandoned his duty. It was all of these 1,142 men. And we actually were able to reclaim the memories of some of these men. I remember at one of the meetings and also at the centennial celebration, they showed an image of this archive box, which was about a shoebox size, and it was those little 3 by 5 inch index cards. And several years ago, all we knew about those men was just really their surname and their given name, and saw that horrible red stamp, abandon their duty. Now, after this project has progressed for many years, we know so much more about those men. They were sons, they were fathers, they were grandfathers. We have their histories. We know how they contributed to society. So I'm very proud of my involvement. I feel emotional talking about it, is taking those roster cards that had really no significance really, might have even been thrown away at one point, and now we know about the men, and they have a place in history, and I think we've honored them in many ways because of that.
We'd like to invite everyone to visit the project's website. The address is www.bpstrike1919.org. And that website is going to contain all of the data that we have collected, and there'll be something new to experience and read about every time you visit.